The Manifesto is out. That's right. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be reading some of that verbatim and going over what happened there. So tune in for that. We're going to have some fun with that because we haven't talked this to death for the last 2 days. In other news, the Washington Post releases a list of things that they believe that the Donald is going to do, pretty much ripping off the list of the things that Biden has done since January 20th of 2021, ironically enough. But we'll go over that, what's happening there, and what we do with that. Let's see, in other news, what else do we have going on over here? Mike Johnson has found that he has not had any bank accounts over the past few years. Nobody knows how or why, and we'll read some of the propaganda that goes along with that and what that means and where we go with that. And Rashida Tlaib is under the gun, figuratively of course, because of comments that she's made about what Democrats should be doing about Israel. It is going to be all of this and more over here on the least prepared episode of Contemporary ever. So strap yourselves in, have some fun, grab some friends, get the snack. I know it's a little bit later than the dinner time, but get a snack, and we'll see you on the other side of the title card. And I've got a blank space, baby. I'll write your name. I am J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is J. Edgar, and, well, we've got a lot to go over here today. I had a full show up, ready to go, and then a bit of terrible news dropped on me about 9:30 this morning, and I had no idea how bad it was until probably a few hours later. Now, because this is family, and because of the way that I treat Contemporary, I'm not going to be giving details about what happened today. The people who are in the know, the people who need to know, already know. Some of them have actually seen some of the documentation from this, the people who are in the know that need to know, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the news, so we've got a lot to go over here today. Reminder, of course, if you're watching on the Instagram side, we will be watching some videos over here. There is a link to my YouTube channel in the description, whether you're watching live or on the replay right now, where you can see the rest of this shit show. You can hear the music, you can see the videos, you can see everything else off of this, plus, of course, my smiling face down in the corner there. So as we get moving, I encourage you to join me over on that side. This will be available also for replay on Instagram, but without the video, obviously, YouTube, and Rumble, so you can check us out over there, or you can take us on the audio platform on Spotify. You can take us as well. So we're going to go live, we're going to do it for 2 hours, and well, this is about the least prepared I've ever been, so we're going to have some fun with it too. So, again, feel free to chat in the chat. I will answer chat between articles and topics. And we're going to get started here tonight. Let's get the live chats up here so I can see what you guys are doing. Just nobody's watching on Rumble. That's a little bit odd. Usually I get some people here. Happy debate. Is the debate tomorrow? I didn't even know about that. Crap. Well, I guess I can't do debate coverage, I guess, because, well, I'm out of town tomorrow. So, I'm leaving tomorrow morning again. I did come back, obviously. Had to come get some clothes, but yeah, I'm out of town again tomorrow. There's no way that I can be here for this. So maybe we'll live chat it in the Discord or something as it goes, but let's get into the news and let's get started. Let me get my face off the screen here before we get into the news. And we're actually going to start with a little bit of breaking news today. Some stuff that popped up before, well, in the midst of me getting here. Let me also put the title card up here. Now that I have studio mode back, I screw up on the OBS all the time. But that's what we have going for this. Let's get into it and let's get started. Breaking news. Speaking of election day, Pennsylvania county promises accurate tally after clerical error appears to flip votes for judges. Thank you to Golden Leaf for putting this one into the Discord today. The Associated Press, Michael Rubencam reporting a voting machines company's clerical error clerical error. That's what we're calling it. Caused votes in an eastern Pennsylvania county to appear to be flipped on a ballot question that asked whether a pair of incumbent state appeals judges should be retained, officials said on Tuesday. Voters were asked to decide whether Pennsylvania Superior Court Judge Jack Pannella and Victor Stabile should be retained for an additional 10-year terms. The answers, yes or no, votes for each judge were switched on a summary displayed to voters before they cast their ballot, said Charles Derdinger, the Northampton County Director of the administration. If the voter marked yes to retain Pannella and no on Stabile, for example, it was reflected as no on Pannella and yes on Stabile. Voters noticed the error on the printing and voting records and produced by the touchscreen machines and brought it to the attention of poll workers shortly after the start of voting on Tuesday morning. Despite the glitch on the printed summary, voters' actual choices were properly recorded. Were properly recorded on the machine's back-end systems, and their votes will be tabulated accurately, Derdinger said on Thursday afternoon at a news conference in Easton. Look, I am not going to doubt the veracity of the Associated Press. This time. If they say that's what happened and it got tallied accurately on the back end, which is hilarious anyway, on the back end, then I will say yes, that absolutely got tallied correctly on the back end. You can see the sarcasm in my voice. But the problem that I have with this is that, this is just like the ballot case out of Connecticut, which did not make the stack today. Whereas I'm continually told over and over again that it's impossible for this to happen, that this can never happen. I keep saying, hey, even the left was saying that, they were seeing instances of voting machines flipping from Kerry to Bush all the way back when some of these things started coming out. But I was told that this never happened. And this has been a partisan issue going on both directions. I'm sure that there was a point at some point where people were saying, "Oh well, if I go to the voting machine, it's gonna flip my vote for Trump. Oh no, what am I gonna do?" But no, that's not the case. So, what this actually does to the election, I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if we can even question this election. I guess we'll see how far this goes into one direction or the other, whether or not we can question this election. I have, I definitely have some issues there, but we'll be talking about that as this goes and what we do there. Let's look at some of this here. I already got some live chat coming in here. The Mogwai says, "Happy Who Gives a Shit Election Day," or "Happy Debate Eve." Yeah, I didn't realize that. Crap. Well, again, family comes first. So, and legitimately, the only reason there is a contemporary this week is number one, because of the Manifesto, because I really wanted to cover that. And number two, the more important side of that is I'm gone for the next 2 days. I only came back here because when I went to deal with the emergency, I didn't have any clothes with me. I just went in my work clothes, so there's that. Yeah, no, it wouldn't even be Motel 6. I'll be at my parents' house tomorrow night. I get I get tallied on my back. Holy F, Lindsay, give me back my phone, you perv. Says the Mogwai. Thank you. Lindsey Graham, everybody. Dual Helix is joined over on the Rumble side. Says, "You're live." Yes, I am. Fuck it, we're going to do it live. Yeah, it's a family emergency. Yeah, like I say, it's more serious than we thought, but I think everything's going to be fine. I have a friend who's a nurse who kind of looked over everything, and we'll go with that. I'm still with Roseanne. She was right. There won't be any... There will be, YouTube, perfectly fair elections in every cycle except for 2016 where the evil Russians took over. YouTube. So, that's what they have going on with that. Other breaking news today that is probably going to disappear and is even actually from the New York Post been edited to kind of change things and skew the way that this looks. Registered sex offender arrested with rifle near U.S. Senate. Josh Christensen and Samuel Chamberlain reporting for the New York Post. Where democracy... Wait, no, that's the Washington Post. Never mind. No tagline for the New York Post. I don't know if they even have one. I know they called it the paper a record for a while. U.S. Capitol Police arrested a Georgia man carrying a gun within sight of the seat of the legislative branch on Tuesday afternoon. Authorities say they received a report of a man armed with a long gun, which, again, this is D.C. If he got that far carrying something that you cannot conceal, I don't know if they wanted him to get there or what the hell the deal is with that, but I mean, this is D.C. Authorities say they received a report of a man armed with a long gun walking in a park across from Union Station approximately 12:40 p.m. Officers found the suspect moments later and commanded him to drop the weapon, and then shot him with a taser when he didn't comply. Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger identified the subject as Amir Levon Morel, 21, of Atlanta, a registered sex offender in the Peach State with a warrant out for his arrest on a probation violation. Well, if he crossed state lines, of course he was on a probation violation. Arrest photos showed Merrill was wearing a tan sweatsuit with a logo Boominati Worldwide, referring to a record label founded by the rap producer Metro Boomin. Okay, they're just making up names at this point. There's no reason to believe that that's a real person. Moa says a sex offender, and they had to say he had a long gun. Actually, when Golden Leaf put this article in the Discord earlier, I was actually on a Discord call with him when he did, and he said, "Oh well, it was a guy, and he had a gun in a mysterious package outside the White House." And I said, "Oh yeah, mysterious package, huh? Why are you looking at the front of his pants like that?" The park where Merrill was arrested is close to the 3 Senate office buildings located just north of the Capitol itself, and nearby roads were closed for about 2 hours as officers searched his belongings and the surrounding area. Which is funny, when they search a car on the side of the interstate in Racine, they just let traffic keep flowing, or pretty much anywhere else in southern Wisconsin, but if they have to search belongings or anything else in DC, they shut that shit down in a hurry. Members of Congress, staff, and the press were advised to avoid the area of the Upper Senate Park directly north of the U.S. Capitol building on the other side of the Constitution Avenue until around 1500 hours, when bomb technicians completed their search of a backpack they said Morel had been carrying. Based on our officer's limited contact and limited conversation with Mr. Merrill, there is some indication that he may be dealing with some mental health issues, but we don't know that, Manger said. Well, let's see. He has somehow come into possession of a firearm as a registered sex offender. That's a no-no in and of itself. Known to the FBI. And of course, because it's DC too, it's possession of unregistered ammunition on top of it. So that is happening today. I've got reason to believe that this story is probably going to disappear in a hurry, which I think some of that came with the fact that they had to specify that he was a sex offender. But that is where we have for that. Now let's get into what I've been wanting to talk about since about 8 o'clock yesterday morning. Breaking from X. Well, breaking yesterday. Steven Crowder. Breaking: Nashville School Covenant shooter Audrey Hale's Death Day Manifesto targeted crackers with white privileges. Want to kill all you little crackers. I hope I have a high death count. I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't ready to die. Now, I will have the images up on the screen here. Even though this is probably going to get at least age restricted on YouTube for having it up there. So I'm not going to leave them up there for very long. And I debated actually playing the video from Crowder, but number one, it looks like it actually got taken down. And number two, well, he's got the Rumble link on there as well. But number two, this is actually getting censored by the big tech. Facebook has dropped this. Any mention of this at all. Which kind of sucks because I'm streaming to Facebook right now. Just keep in mind. Instagram is taking down any instances and postings of this. And YouTube is taking down verbatim reads of this. I don't know how Styx got around it. I know that he changed some of the words in this, but I mean, stuff involving this is getting age restricted. The people behind big tech do not want this out, which is part of the reason, of course, why this was censored for as long as it is, because there's a lot of stuff in here that throws the entire narrative into a complete and utter fucking tailspin. Now, of course, what do we hear all the time? All the attacks, everything else that we see, anything like into this nature that involves a gun, it's automatically a white supremacist. A person who just wants to kill people based on race. Our good liberal left-wing friends would never carry a gun or carry out anything like this. It's all those evil white supremacists. And once you read just the 3 pages that were leaked, you start to see instead an issue of somebody who was probably radicalized into Marxist ideology, who had a disdain and even as far as a distinct hatred for the rich. Like, I mean, we hear about the cracker kids, and they use a certain F word that we can't use on YouTube either. Not fuck, I say that on YouTube all the time, but the other one. The slur, as they say. The shooter used that word in there a lot. But, I mean, some of the key points that come out of this are the fact that it was the focus on the rich. The people who go to the private school. Who could pay for the private school, and the parents driving along in their Mustangs. Then, I mean, this person brought up Mustangs a lot. And I keep saying this person, too, because I don't know where YouTube is going to land once they decide how they're going to treat this on misgendering, too, because remember, this is the one transgendered person that we are allowed to dead name. I don't know if it's because he/she is dead. I don't know if it's because he/she, they want to separate he/she from the left-wing narrative that was clearly in this manifesto, by the way. Or what the story is with that, but I know the news agencies were doing it, and I'm told that's like the greatest sin in the world, is to dead name somebody, even if that person is deceased at this point. You can't dead name the person because, I mean, it'll cause all transgender people to want to do things that we also can't talk about on YouTube. Broadcast yourself, they say. But there has been a lot of misdirection and misfocus on this as well. But, I mean, it's out there if you guys want to hear it. I know, like I say, again, he got around the TOS somehow on YouTube. I know it's against the creator's code to recommend you straight out to another creator, but I mean, Styx will have the best verbatim, and he was able again to manage to get around the TOS side, so he'll say it out there. I know that if I keep talking about this, I'm going to get banned, but we'll keep it going along with this here Newsweek with the reporting on this. I do still have ward number changes. That's because the last thing I streamed was Fallout Friday. Let me fix that. There, it's fixed. Maybe we're watching a video somewhere. I'll put a different tagline in there. Mogwai says we can dead name them due to them being dead. I don't know. See, the thing with YouTube, the crazy thing with them is, like, they'll let a million mainstream media sources get away with something, but the second an independent creator does it, you're suspended. Remember, that's what happened to me when I streamed out the Trump speech. You remember that? I streamed the Trump speech from Waukesha, and I got a hard strike for misinformation on YouTube, and I had to take 2 weeks off of my main channel and go to my backup channel that doesn't exist. I totally don't have a second channel. But if I did, I would have had to go to it for 2 weeks. Because of the fact that they deemed what Trump said in his speech as misinformation. Meanwhile, you can go directly to fox6.com, still to this day, by the way, to fox6.com and watch this stream. Watch their coverage of that speech, verbatim, the exact same speech that I streamed. No issues, no faults, and it's advertiser friendly for them. Well, Helix, they don't give me money because I have AdSense turned off. Twitch gives me money. Twitch gives me a lot of money, especially when Mogwai goes on subscription gifting sprees, which I appreciate, by the way. Thank you so much for that. I always appreciate that. But I actually specifically turned my ability to monetize on YouTube off. If people want to monetize to me, they'll go to DLive and give me lemons, or they'll go to Twitch and give me subscriptions and bits, which I've been cheered bits over there too. Or they'll give me... didn't you give me like $1 or $2 on Rumble one time, Helix, I thought? Which I don't know how to redeem that, but I'm pretty sure you did. And I'm pretty sure it's still hanging out there somewhere. I just got to figure out how to turn it into cold hard cash and put it back in my hands. Anyway, from Newsweek, Nashville Shooter's Manifesto, released by Steven Crowder, What We Know, which was not as copy of an article as a lot of people thought it was going to be. Matthew Impelli reporting. Conservative social media personality Steven Crowder teased the release of a manifesto allegedly written by an accused school shooter in Nashville, Tennessee, where 6 victims died earlier this year. In a video posted on Monday to YouTube. Not anymore. Crowder said the manifesto was leaked and shared screenshots of portions of the document, which was believed to be the work of Audrey/Aiden Hale, 28, whom authorities identified as the shooter. They also said Hale, who died at the scene, once attended the school. I will be reading the manifesto here on the show. I wish I didn't have to, Crowder said in the video, which I have tagged to watch on Rumble, but I have not watched yet. In a post to X, formerly known as Twitter, Crowder shared the other images of the manifesto, including one part that said, I hope I have a high death count. Some Call of Duty level stuff right there. Where's my cursor? There it is. Newsweek has been unable to independently verify that the manifesto was written by Hale. We'll get to that a little bit later. A Metro Nashville Police Department spokesperson told Newsweek the police are unable to confirm that Hale wrote the manifesto, but said that they are looking into the matter. We stand by our reporting, Crowder told Newsweek, following the response from the Metro Nashville Police Department. An FBI spokesperson told Newsweek, as this matter is being addressed by the courts, the FBI will not be commenting on the reported documents. They are trying so hard. The ongoing investigation into the March 27th murder of 6 persons inside the Covenant School continues to show, from all information currently available, that the killer, Audrey/Aiden Hale, acted totally alone, the Metro Nashville Police Department said in a press release in April. The release continued. The collective writings found by Hale found in her vehicle, in the school parking lot, and others later found in the bedroom of her home. She documented in journals her planning over a period of months to commit the mass murder of the Covenant School. Yeah, that's one of the things, and that's part of what got released in this, is the fact that, like, this is just 3 pages that happened on the day that this came up. But it does make an indication that this is something that's been going on for, at the very least, days, if not months. You know, the portion starts out, "This is Death Day," which leads the logical person to believe that this has been written about for at least 1 day prior to this, at the very least, but possibly weeks or months. Conservative commentator Andy Ngo wrote on X, "Breaking, I've reviewed the manifesto of the Nashville trans school shooters. Audrey/Aiden Hale expressed a violent hatred of the little cracker children with white privilege." So, like, they were actually somewhat factual on this, which surprised me a little bit. Let's see, a little bit more news off of this. And this was probably the wrong move if you're still trying to cast doubt on the authenticity of this. Breaking, Hale family attorney David Rabin has just released the following statement on the Nashville Manifesto. "We're not in the position to authenticate these pieces of paper." Hale family attorney says, "I represent Mr. Ron and Mrs. Norma Hale. We have never seen Manifesto at any time. We're not in a position to authenticate these pieces of paper. We have absolutely not released anything, but we certainly did not release this. It's inappropriate for me to make any further comment about it." So, I don't know what happened at this point. But one of the things that I, especially with it being Crowder, actually believe is basically what I think that he did was either he dressed up as a woman again, but more likely that he hired some well-to-do, eager, ready to go to another Charlie Kirk event type of conservative Inc. kid, saying, "Hey, you'll become famous. We'll make you popular. You'll get rich doing this. You just have to go and pretend to be an intern for the Nashville Police Department. Get whatever you can from this manifesto and bring it back to us, either by photo or by actually bringing it physically to us." Which I don't think that they brought it physically to, but I'm willing to bet that they got papers. Let's see. Dual Helix got banned from X on his second day. Oh, wow. It's cool Twitch plays ball, even though they take like the biggest cut out of all the platforms. Yeah, but they are honestly relatively lenient for this kind of thing, so. KTZed is here. I will talk to you off air, KTZed, on this one. I've told you some of the details off of this, but I'll let you know what's happening either tonight, even though it's an hour later for you, or because I'm driving an hour and a half to get up there tomorrow, so I'll let you know then. That's baloney. They recognize the kid's handwriting. No, they can't verify it independently. We have no idea where this came from. Why are they winking? Thank you, Mogwai. Let's see. Let's see. Twitter, X staff. Oh. Yeah, I spammed the N-word to the Twitch staff and was unbanned the next day. Interesting. It was written as a diary. There were agendas. I want to see the price lists. They're totally in a position to authenticate is that her handwriting. That's complete bullshit. I think Crowder is a CIA. I do think that he has controlled Oppo. Keep in mind that he did used to work for Fox. That's part of the reason I stopped watching him entirely. Although I will admit that I still enjoy the Change My Mind stuff. I know it's cringe. I can't watch Louder with Crowder anymore. I can tell you that. It's just too far off the rails. And I think he is full of crap. Yeah, I think that too. I think you're right, Dual Helix. Alright, what else do we have here? I like this too, like... There was another article that I bounced off of this, but there were like 2 articles in a row that said, Unverified documents by Covenant school shooter released by radio host. This is from WKRN out of Nashville, but there was another local report that said literally the exact same thing. Brittany Baird, Ethan Illers, Nikki McGee reporting for this one. Images of unverified pages from the Covenant school shooter's writings were released to the public Monday by a conservative radio host. Stephen Crowder posted images of 3 pages from a notebook allegedly from the shooter's so-called manifesto. Crowder told News 2's Nikki McGee the images were taken by a detective at the Covenant school scene and sent to his source. His team flew to Nashville to obtain the images and verify the source. He did not disclose if he had any more pages to share, but added Metro Police should be able to authenticate the documents since they have the possession of the shooter's journals. I'm going to touch on that in just a minute. I want to read these next 2 paragraphs, then I'm going to touch on that. Metro Police spokesperson Chris Mumford told News 2 the department is still looking into it. They didn't say it's not accurate. They said, we don't know. Well, that doesn't make any sense. They've already come out and said they have these documents, and they tried to suppress these documents, so if I'm lying, if my investigative unit... Look, we stake our reputation on this. We do it all the time. We make our references publicly available when we're covering news, let alone breaking news. If it's not real, I should be admonished. I should be called out to the mat, and you shouldn't trust a word that I say, Crowder said. I wonder why no one else procured this and why our national intelligence agencies and the local police decided to actively suppress it, he added in a separate statement. So, and I mean, there are a lot of people coming out here that's saying that, I think, let me back up on this. I'm pretty sure the news media at this point has admitted the fact that this is true. I am pretty positive that it's common knowledge now that this is actually from the manifesto, because the narrative has shifted at this point from we can't verify that this is from the manifesto to, well, this doesn't give the overall tone of what's in the manifesto. This is just a selectively picked bunch of papers to feed an agenda from the evil right wing. Well, you guys, you can clear this all up in a half a second. Done. You can clear up the information. You can clear up the narrative. You can show us that this is all an evil right-wing plot to demonize the trans agenda. You can do it in a half a second. You know how? Release the manifesto. I mean, we all know they're not going to do that, but... ABC4 leaked Nashville shooter manifesto shows motivation behind attack. Kill all you little F words that we can't say on YouTube. Julia Barron reporting for ABC4. Portions of the manifesto belonging to Nashville school shooter Audrey Hale are circulating social media after months of debate regarding its release. Crowder allegedly revealed intentions behind Hale's deadly attack. I want to kill all you little... And this one was crackers. One page from the manifesto reads, bunch of little bundles of sticks with your white privileges. Fornicate yourselves, bundles of sticks. The National Desk has verified the authenticity of the leaked images through its Nashville affiliate, Fox 17 News. 28-year-old Audrey Hale, which is, again, weird because we can dead name this particular one, killed 6 people, including 3 students. We know what happened there. So, let's see. Nashville authorities are purportedly aware of the leak of the manifesto. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world is aware of that. Thank you, Fox News, for being controlled opposition yet again. What else do we have? All right, one more from Dom Lucre, and then we're actually going to move on to something else. Developing. I'm so disappointed in the mayor of Nashville. How can you attack the messenger and not the trans that created the message? He also never released it, but knew the Nashville police had access to the manifesto. This is what happens when a Democrat is elected in a Republican state. They will do everything in their party to dismantle the Republican support by controlling the narrative. Tennessee deserves better than Mayor Freddie O'Connell. Well, I guess that is between the people of Nashville and the mayor's office. If they deserve somebody better, it's on them to go back and vote that person out. Unfortunately, being a large urban center, mostly comprised of artists that are coming from the rest of the world, to go and try to hit it big and mostly needing to be taken care of by the government until they hit it big. Los Angeles has this problem too, by the way, for the exact same reason. The city of Nashville is probably going to remain highly liberal for a very long time. But again, realistically, the narrative has shifted off the fact that the narrative is done trying to hide the fact that they don't think this is real. I'm pretty sure that they know this is real, and I'm pretty sure they're open about it. So, the manifesto is out. Again, go have a listen. I'm going to dance around it because of YouTube censorship. The Mogwai says, doesn't it say whether them slash they slash z slash theirs slash he slash she slash them hated Ritz, or were they just hitting normal saltine crackers? The world may never know. Let's talk about the Washington Post. In a heavily panicked X-storm from the Occupy Democrats. I guarantee you this is one of the only times you're ever going to see that name on here. Unless, of course, the Occupy Democrats get busted for having a child adult entertainment ring somewhere, which I don't necessarily think is outside the realm of possibility at this point. Breaking! The Washington Post drops Sunday morning bombshell, reveals that Trump and his allies are quietly plotting to deploy the U.S. military to quell potential unrest on Inauguration Day if Trump wins in 2024. You mean like they did on the last Inauguration Day? Because, my memory might be a little bit fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure that the full National Guard was on site for Inauguration Day 2021. Oh, I didn't know you deleted Crimeland from YouTube. Because typically when I do watch Crimeland or Overruled, I watch them live. Oh, but it gets way worse. In today's explosive new report, the Washington Post just unveiled a meticulously detailed plan being hatched behind the scenes. By the way, these people call you a conspiracy theorist. Being hatched behind the scenes by former President Trump and his inner circle. The shocking scheme to be put in motion if Trump secures a second term involves leveraging the formidable powers of the federal government to target critics and adversaries. Gee, I wonder where they got that idea. I wonder what administration does that. The most chilling aspect. Discussions are underway about invoking the Insurrection Act on Inauguration Day. A move that could pave the way for the deployment of the military to quash civil demonstrations. Again, this kind of sounds a lot like Inauguration Day of 2021. Plunging the nation into uncharted constitutional territory. Oh, it gets worse. Trump's readiness to unveil a list of individuals deemed ripe for investigation or prosecution, including former officials like John Kelly and William P. Barr. adds a layer of vindictiveness to his unfolding saga. Oh, you mean like disbarring Giuliani and Sidney Powell and investigating Carrie Lake and even, by the way, Eric Adams and his staff? Again, doesn't this sound familiar to anybody? Really? Trump has even threatened to appoint a special prosecutor to go after President Biden and his family. So would that be like Letitia James or Tanya Chutkan or Jack Smith? Who would that be like? Despite a stark absence of tangible evidence to substantiate these claims. However, what raises the most eyebrows and concerns is the concerted effort to dismantle well-established policies, like using the levers of the Justice Department to go after a political adversary, that have long separated criminal prosecutions from political considerations. Jesus. Do you not see yourselves right now? These discussions have triggered widespread alarm, with critics arguing that such actions have the potential to erode the core tenets of democracy, and in some instances draw alarming parallels to autocratic regimes. I'm done. I can't. Jeez. Do they think that we don't notice? Do they think that we can't see what's actually happening? A significant part of the secretive planning has been outsourced to a coalition of right-wing think tanks collectively referred to as Project 2025. This consortium is hard at work crafting a comprehensive strategy which includes the deployment of the military domestically under the provisions of the Insurrection Act, which, again, by the way, was begged for. The Insurrection Act was begged for in the summer of love 2020. And he wouldn't do it. A law that has seen minimal use since its last significant revision in 1871. The Washington Post revelation comes in the wake of previous instances where Trump supporters had urged him to employ the Insurrection Act during his first term. Well, the news media was urging that too, by the way, during his first term. In recent public statements, Trump expressed regret for not taking such drastic action in the past, signifying a willingness to entertain more forceful measures in the future. This revelation provides a disturbing glimpse into Trump's unwavering determination to seek retribution against his critics. Okay. I know they see what it is that they're doing. I don't know if it's just that they don't care or they want to make people believe that they don't see it. Which has become an unmistakable and central theme of his campaign. It underscores the notion that a second term will serve as the ideal platform for settling scores. Please retweet and heart to expose Trump and his dangerous Republican enablers, and consider joining the growing exodus to Tribble, a woke new Twitter competitor that banned Trump for life, in spite of the fact that he's not on there, and is expanding in popularity because Elon Musk banned Tribble's Twitter account. But he forgot to ban this link to download the new Tribble app. Aren't you guys excited to go run out and join Tribble? Don't you want to go join Tribal and be tribal with them? Now, this is an actual real article too, by the way. This is a real thing. The Washington Post, Trump and allies plot revenge. Justice Department control in a second term. I'm actually not going to go too deep into this because we went through the majority of this in the Occupy Democrats post. And again, I mean, you can read this for yourself. It's linked in the Discord, and I'll throw the archive link in a chat. There's that. And there's that. But yeah, I mean, this is all the stuff that the Biden admin, you can go down through this list and say, hey, I remember when the Biden admin did this. The only thing they haven't done is invoke the Insurrection Act. But man, they are not shy about throwing that term around either. This is an insurrection. It's an insurrection. It's an insurrection. To facilitate Trump's ability to direct the Justice Department, his actions, his associates have been drafting plans to dispense with 50 years of policy and practice intended to shield criminal prosecutions from political considerations. Critics have called such ideas dangerous and unconstitutional. Criminal prosecution should be free from political consideration. It should be about right or wrong, not the letter after your name. So, yes, it should be shielded. It would resemble a banana republic if people came into office and started going after their opponents willy-nilly. Again, like, they know what's happening here, right? They see themselves, right? It's tribal. Tribel is what it's called. It's a social media platform specifically for leftoids. And anybody who does not toe the socialist line gets banned immediately for life. IP banned. So, but what we do have is a new agenda coming up. The cringe lord himself, Charlie Kirk. President Trump is vowing to revolutionize higher education. His new plan would create a free, federally funded online university called American Academy. Now, I both like and don't like this. I mostly dislike this because I do think that the university system should be detached from the federal government. If we have to have the state, like the K through 12, be funded by that, it's still something I disagree with, but it's a necessary evil. But like, you choose to go to the university. You do. I'm in favor of doing scholarships, especially to help get into more private schools. And yes, maybe putting some of them from federal dollars, but not an actual full university. I mean, this is basically turning us into K through 16. Ban wokeness and jihadism. That is a violation of free speech. I don't like wokeness and jihadism, but I like the First Amendment a lot more. And again, this comes on to the idea of who decides. Allow credentials to be used to apply for government and federal contractor jobs. Yeah, that's something that should be done in the first place. That's something I like. Grant credit to students for past coursework. Yeah, I like that too. Tax large private university endowments like Harvard's to pay for the school. Well, taxation is theft, so I can't get behind that one. And again, my big problem with going with the taxpayer-funded school, and anything that's government-funded, federally funded, is, I mean, that's coming out of yours and my pocket. Whether we agree with the idea or not, that's coming out of our pockets, and I don't like that idea. If we went on my tax plan, where we actually got to itemize the things that we wanted to fund and didn't want to fund, I'd be a lot more in favor of that. But realistically, no. I'm not in favor of people having to fund something they don't agree with. Sue and fine institutions that fail to uphold free speech laws or encourage anti-Semitism, which, by the way, goes completely against this part of Agenda 2025. Because that is entirely against free speech. Even though I hate those two things, I recognize the freedom of people to be stupid with them. We're spending more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. Well, again, if these kids and their families want to spend umpteen $million sending them to the private school or the public school to learn to be communists, that's one thing. But yeah, I don't think that should be taxpayer funded either. If they want to go to a school that aligns with their ideology and it's that stupid crap, that's between them and their money, and they're not going to be worthwhile in the job market. We already know this, because they're already not worthwhile in the job market. Except for the fact that they're coming into the job market with huge amounts of debt that they have to spend 10 years paying off, which brings them right to the point where they're going to go buy the house and start that family and need to stay as wage slaves forever. God bless student loans. Speaking of the presidential election, here's an interesting one for you guys. From disclose.tv. New. Trump leads in 5 of the 6 most important battleground states as voters blast Biden. New York Times Siena poll finds. So, Trump is ahead in Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, but not Wisconsin. Come on, Wisconsin people, get it the fuck together. And we are seeing all kinds of cope with this one. Why you shouldn't worry. Rivals say that he can't beat him. Polls say he can. Why Democrats shouldn't despair. And, I mean, there is a buttload of cope over this. First and foremost, this is a single poll. This is a single poll. The aggregate is always going to be your best friend. Let's get Real Clear Politics up and see what the aggregate says right now. On the GOP, Trump leads DeSantis by well over 30 points, over 40 points at this point on the national, but approve, disapprove, spread of 15-1 for President Biden job approval. The betting averages for Trump are up over Biden right now. But let's look at our latest polls. Let's get this video out of my way so I can. Do we have a latest poll on the president? Let's see. Yeah, general election, Trump versus Biden on CNN. Trump 49, Biden 45, Trump plus 4. Biden versus Kennedy versus West, Trump plus 6. Yeah, so we've got the various races here, the Siena poll. Georgia, Trump versus Biden versus Kennedy. If they got Kennedy in there, it kind of goes a little bit awry. Because apparently in these polls, Kennedy's taking more away from Trump than Biden, but there's that aspect of it. But we've got Trump plus 6, tie, Trump plus 7. We've got Wisconsin, Biden plus 2, but otherwise it's just tie everywhere. But let's look, this is the one I want to look at. So the aggregate, not the single poll from CNN that we looked at before, but the aggregate, which typically favors, by the way, the aggregates favor Democrats by plus 5. So typically when you look at the aggregate, especially through RCP, versus what actually happens in the election, it skews the polls skew +5 Democrat, typically, on average. So where I'm going with that is the RCP average, if you go by that average I just brought up, would bring the election day total to Trump plus 6.4, which is a number that if I was a Democrat would actually be starting to get scary. And when we look at the list of polling here, this is polling that I do typically put a little bit more stock into based on the fact of who they're polling. And I've explained this a little bit before. Now, when we look at some of these polls, we see here CNN is 1271 registered voters. Morning Consult is 5,000 registered voters. CBS News is 1,759 likely voters. There's a third category that they use when they do this, and it's just adults. These might not even be citizens. These might not be people that can vote or would vote. So those polls, typically, I say you can just throw out because they're doing nothing but skewing the results and trying to pull off an agenda. But when we look at now the fact that the majority of these are registered voters, these are people who actually, are planning on going in and specifically pulling the lever for one name or the other. And it doesn't look good. I mean, you've got 3 ties on there. And the majority of these are Trump plus, with a couple of Biden plus ones. I don't know, guys. Again, if I was a Democrat, I would, I'd be questioning this. I wouldn't necessarily look into the Siena poll that Disclose.tv is using, but there's definitely some stuff going on here. Let's grab one from The Hill. Trump leads Biden in 5 key battleground states by poll, Miranda Nazaro reporting. A new poll found President Biden is trailing former President Trump in 5 key battleground states, dealing the latest blow to Biden's re-election campaign as it works to fend off criticism over the incumbent's age and policies in various issues. And the fact that people go to the grocery store, of course. A new poll from the New York Times, a former newspaper, and Siena College shows Trump beating Biden in 5 out of the 6 battleground states that were polled, including Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, by margins of 3 to 10 percentage points among registered voters. In Arizona, Trump picked up 49% support, compared with Biden's 44%, while in Georgia, Biden secured a 43% compared with Trump's 49%. Trump maintained a wide lead over Biden in Nevada with 52% to 41%. Trump's lead was smaller but still notable in Michigan with 48% of support, while Biden secured 43% of the vote. In Pennsylvania, Trump garnered 48% while Biden had 44%. Wisconsin, the 6th battleground state the poll surveyed, was the only state Biden maintained a slight lead with a margin of 47 to 45. The poll marks a shift in the incumbent won the 6 states in 2020 when up against Trump, the New York Times reported. The findings follow a series of recent polls that show Biden either locked in a tight race with Trump or trailing him. Biden's campaign has reiterated the election is still more than a year away, and the president is working to mobilize voters to support his re-election bid. Honk honk. So here is one of the things that I want to point out. As of right now, I do not plan to vote for either candidate because of ideological differences that I have with Donald and the fact that President Biden is a fucking vegetable. It's not over the fact that I don't think that the vote is going to do anything or anything else like that. I just can't put my name to somebody who spent that way again. And I'm sure as hell not going to vote for anti-free speech DeSantis or the war hawk Nikki Haley. The GOP has not brought forward anybody that I can ideologically vote for. End of story. But if you can swallow your pride and you want to see a change, Don't take these polls as it's in the bag, because it's not. Because when the leftoids see these polls, they're going to mobilize in numbers beyond which you have never seen before. If you want to see a change, you still have to get out and vote. I know my friend John will tell you that you should never vote because it's you trying to impose your will on anybody or anything else like that. If you want to see a change, get out and vote. And you can ideologically get behind one of these two. Get out and vote. So, and the cope. Trump's rivals say he can't beat Biden. Polls say that he can. That's the DeSantis babies. Jonathan Allen, Alan Smith, and Natasha Korecki. Trump's rivals have pledged to support him if he wins the Republican nomination, but increasingly they're arguing to GOP voters that he can't beat President Biden in a matchup. I don't think it's so because I think that there's just too many votes built in against him. Florida man Ron DeSantis, who's polling second to Trump by 40 points, told Hugh Hewitt last week, you could have Jack Kennedy come back and show up and he wouldn't recognize the Democrats as much as Trump does. Sorry, he wouldn't energize the Democrats as much as Trump does. Nikki Haley, former U.S. ambassador to the UN and noted war hawk, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie have also questioned Trump's viability. Well, Chris Christie, of course. If you could vote one person off the island right now, who would it be? Oh, we don't want to do that. We don't want to put rivalry between the GOP. We want to make sure that our rivalry is against voting Joe Biden, says all the candidates except Chris Christie, who had his pen gripped violently in his hand, screaming and scribbling, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. The case is a tricky one to prove that given Trump is beating them all soundly in Republican primary polls and has opened up leads over Biden in the New York Times CNN survey of crucial battleground states. But having failed to gain much traction by contrasting with Trump on policy and personality, electability may be the last arrow left in these candidates' quivers. Yeah. By the end of tomorrow, either Haley or DeSantis' career is going to be over. That's going to be coming up here in the near future. So, in the case of Haley, she led Biden by that same poll by a larger margin than Trump and outside the margin of error. But would vote for the exact same wars and spending that Biden is, so there's really no difference. And cope number 2, opinion. This is a CNN op-ed. The opinions expressed in this article are the opinions of Dean Obeidallah, and not necessarily the opinions of CNN, or Contemporary, or Turns the Pages Productions, or your host, Jay Edgar. These opinions are solely the opinions of Dean Obeidallah. There's no other way to put this. New poll results from the New York Times show President Biden is trailing the former President Trump in most of the 6 battleground states are bad. In fact, these polls about a hypothetical matchup between the two are alarming and a bit distressing, but they should not cause panic. Let's start with a Times CNN polling that's likely causing many in Biden world to reach for a handful of antacids. It's not just the top line finding that the president is trailing in key battleground states, including Nevada, Arizona, and even Michigan, where Biden is down by 5 percentage points to Trump, in a state that he won by nearly 3 points in 2020. According to the New York Times, a former newspaper, the multiracial coalition that powered Biden to victory is fraying with support falling among black and Hispanic voters because, well, the president is a fucking racist. Biden is also seeing a drop in support among voters under 30. And on the economy, an issue that's often the key metric in determining the president's re-election prospects, the polling finds the largest gap in any issue, with 59% of voters to 37% saying they trust Trump over Biden to handle the economic matters. You might be asking them, why not panic? There are a few reasons. First, Barack Obama faced high disapproval ratings in the year before the 2012 election, and a number of early national polls suggested a close race between Obama and Mitt Romney. Well, it's because they're the same exact person. If you read a transcript of each of their statements in a debate, without the name and without the voice and without seeing who was saying it, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two of them. Who would go on to be the GOP's presidential nominee, regretfully. While Obama led in some surveys at the time, a CNN Orc poll in November 2011 found Romney with a 4-point edge. Articles at the time suggested possible doom for Obama, including the New York Times analysis, "Is Obama toast?" PBS's poll finds young people skeptical of Obama's re-election prospects, and the left-leaning Brookings Institute's 1 year to go, President Barack Obama's uphill battle for re-election in 2012. So, because Obama was able to break over great odds with charisma and a lust from the youth vote, that means that 80-year-old racist President Biden can do the same thing. That's exactly what they're trying to tell you right now. So, this is a lot of cope right now. Look, realistically, as much as the paid shills are trying to tell you that everything is fantastic and we have more jobs than ever before in history, we've created all these jobs, which involves sending people back to work after layoffs, that we've created all these jobs and we've created all this upward mobility. The reality and the fact of the matter is that in the years between 2021 and the end of 2022, when I moved, my buying power went to almost nothing, to the point where I was starting to feel poor again, in spite of the fact that I got a $1 raise in that short amount of time. And in 2023, my yearly wage went up $18,000. $16,000 in a year. And I don't feel like I've moved ahead at all from where I was. People go to the store. People know that they were doing better under Trump before we artificially shut everything down over a phony pandemic. People recognize that. They were there. They physically went to the grocery store, bought houses, bought cars, saw their wages increase, real wages versus inflation. It's the economy, stupid. All right, we've got a back-to-back from the New York Post. What are we up for time? 1:14? Plenty of time. John Fetterman accuses Newsom of not having the guts to announce he's running for president. Victor Nava reporting. I'm going to refresh this one here because I think we have video of this one. No, that's just the headlines. No video. Alright. John Fetterman criticized Gavin Newsom over the weekend by accusing the California Democrat of running a primary campaign against President Biden without having the guts to publicly announce it. There are 2 additional Democrats running for running for president right now, Fetterman said during a speech to the Iowa Democratic Party on Saturday, according to NPC News. One is a congressman from Minnesota, and the other one is a governor of California, but only one has the guts to announce it. Referring to Newsom and Dean Phillips, that nobody's even heard of. And is not going to make it into any polls, no matter how well he does. Newsom has repeatedly insisted he has no plans to challenge Biden for the White House in 2024, or even seek the presidency if Biden were to drop out of the race. The Golden State governor prompted conjecture about his White House ambitions after earlier this year appearing for an interview with Hannity on Fox News and challenging Florida man Ron DeSantis to debate their state's contrasting policies. Which would be a slaughter for Newsom, by the way, because Florida gained 2 congressional seats and California lost 2. Based mostly on the reaction to the pandemic. Newsom also recently traveled to China, where he met with Xi Jinping in Beijing and discussed ways to accelerate our progress on climate in meaningful and substantial ways with the communist leader, according to the governor, in which Jinping turned around and laughed at him as soon as he was out of earshot. Newsom was recently accused by Ramaswamy of mounting a secret campaign for the White House. I think it's more of he just wants to be there and available for the inevitable of the fact that, I mean, the guy is 80 years old. He's not going to live forever. So, even the Democrats calling them out. Kamala Harris says Biden is very much alive and running for re-election. Josh Christensen, also of the New York Times, reporting. Thanks for the update, Kamala, the vice president awkwardly assured would-be 2024 voters in a Sunday night interview that President Brandon is very much alive and running for re-election. She said, following her signature cackle, despite mounting concerns from Democrats, donors, and Americans about the incumbent's age. We were talking to some Democrat donors, and they had told us that should something befall President Biden and he's not able to run, that there would be a free-for-all for all who would run for president. Oh, that's Bill Whitaker. That's not Kamala Harris. Told the VP of the 80-year-old commander-in-chief of 60 Minutes. Although Bill Whitaker kind of does that same stupid cackle, doesn't he? You're in the spot. That would be natural for you to step up, but we're hearing from donors that they would not naturally fall into line. Why is that? Well, because Kamala Harris was uniquely unpopular, dropping out of the race with less than 1% after Tulsi Gabbard sank her claws into Harris. And by the way, it was shortly after Tulsi sank her claws into Harris. I believe, because didn't Biden not get in? I'd have to review, but I thought that Biden didn't get in until after the first debate. I gotta double check that, because I might be wrong on that one, and I'll admit if I was. Harris responded, well, first of all, I'm not going to engage in the hypothetical because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election. That woman knows that her political career is over if Biden dies, by the way, before the 2024 election. Because she is not going to get picked to be the Democratic nominee. It's not going to happen, and she knows it. Hillary Clinton cannot allow the help to be up there, and that's what Hillary thinks about these kinds of people, too. She thinks that Kamala is the help. And again, that's also given the fact that the ACAB Democrat Party is very unlikely to put their support behind a cop, no matter how many paid shills they get to come out and say what great things she's done, but can't name a single thing that she's actually done. Except get nominated for jobs that she's never done. So, and that looks like Joe Biden standing at the podium taking a crap, just so you know. I do kind of wonder if that's what's happening. Is somebody going after his depends? Alright, what else do we have here? Mike Johnson. I love the hate that Mike Johnson is getting. Because before last week, nobody had ever even heard of who this guy was. Unless you were a constituent And from what I understand, is a relatively low-populated district in Louisiana to begin with. They've then turned around and said that they've always known that he was the architect behind January 6th, even though we never called him out for it before we found out he was the Speaker of the House. And we always knew that he was truly evil, but we never said anything until we knew he was the Speaker of the House. Nobody ever heard of this guy, but man, they can sure spin up a story about him, the Daily Beast. Over the course of 7 years, Mike Johnson has never reported a checking or savings account in his name, nor the name of his wife or any of his children, disclosures show. In fact, his latest filings show no assets whatsoever. I don't care. If you want to find his assets, bring a warrant. Until you bring a warrant, shut the fuck up. From the Daily Beast. Does new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, have a bank account? Roger Sullenberger reporting. Newly elected Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, does not have a bank account. At least that's what Johnson reports on years of personal financial disclosures, which date back to 2016 and reveal a financial life that, in context of his role as congressman and now speaker, appears extraordinarily precarious. Over the course of 7 years, Johnson has never reported a checking or savings account in his name, nor in the name of his wife or any of his children, disclosures show. In fact, he doesn't appear to have money stashed in any investment, with his latest filing covering 2022 showing no assets whatsoever. Of course, it's unlikely Johnson doesn't actually have a bank account. What's more likely is Johnson lives paycheck to paycheck so much that he doesn't have enough money in his bank account to trigger the checking account disclosure rules for members of Congress. House Ethics Committee filing guidelines state that members must disclose bank accounts they have at every financial institution as long as the account holds at least $1,000 and the combined value of all accounts, including those belonging to their spouse and dependent children, exceed $5,000. The rules cover all interest-bearing cash deposit accounts at banks, credit unions, savings and loan associations, including checking, savings, and money market accounts, along with CDs and individual retirement funds or IRAs. Johnson reported receiving $10,485.53 distribution from a New York Life IRA in 2017, his first year in office, possibly from a retirement account he had listed in the previous year. It's certainly not uncommon for Americans to have less than $5,000 in their bank account. Most Americans couldn't handle an unexpected $1,000 expense, according to a report earlier this year, and the median amount that Americans keep in their bank account is $5,300. But Johnson's household income puts him in the top 12% of earners in the U.S. It is extraordinarily rare for members of Congress not to list a qualifying bank account, let alone zero assets whatsoever. Is it weird? Yes. Do I care? Slightly. Do I think you should be putting more concern over the people who can disclose millions of dollars in assets on a $147,000 salary? Yeah, I would be looking more into that than whether or not somebody you didn't know existed a month ago has a bank account or not. But you do you, Daily Beast. In the chattest move possible coming out of a member of Congress, which is a very low bar to clear, by the way, Speaker Johnson shrugs off questions about his finances. From Ryan King. Freshly crowned, Speaker Johnson on Sunday brushed aside questions about his finances, insisting he's a man of modest means. Johnson didn't report having a bank account in his name or list valuable assets in financial disclosure forms dating back to 2016. drawing consternation from critics and whether he's been transparent according to the Daily Beast. I'm a man of modest means, Johnson told Fox News Sunday. I was a lawyer, but I did constitutional law and most of my career has been in the nonprofit sector, he added. We have 4 kids, 5 now, that are very active, and I have kids in graduate school, law school, and undergrad. We have a lot of big expenses, but I can relate to everybody else, Johnson continued. I think that helps the GOP be a better leader because we can relate to every hardworking family. Rank-and-file lawmakers in Congress earn about $174,000 a year, but as Speaker, the paycheck will jump to $223,500 annually. Prior to ascending to the speakership late last month, Johnson was a little-known congressman from Louisiana. Screw you, my finances are my business. I have a lot of expenses. Fuck off. Total Chad. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see, what else do we have here? More Chad. If it actually happens. I still have my doubts. The Trumpist. Trumpist 45. Breaking all U.S. representatives. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is releasing all 40,000 hours of January 6, 2021 CCTV footage to an unbiased news organization called The Blaze. What are your thoughts on this? Well, big if true. I wouldn't exactly call Glenn Beck's website unbiased. The question comes in is, can he do it and will he do it? And those are 2 questions that I believe are going to be in the negative in both directions. It'll get stopped, it'll get sued into oblivion, and they'll find some way to say, hell no, you can't come back and do this. Because it's very important to go into the 2024 election thinking that was a full-on insurrection that totally came up from the grassroots because of something Donald Trump said in a speech. They can't show people holding the doors open, they can't show people being led through the halls. Now, do I think that Beck will do a better job of handling it and getting the information out there? Yes, I do. I absolutely do think that he'll do a better job of getting it out there than Tucker did. Because Tucker had to go down and edit it and release it in a form that comported both to Fox News and to a narrative that he himself was trying to push. Will it do anything? Is the question, and no. See, the problem is that this is going to the Blaze, which our friends in the mainstream media, the legacy media, and Democrat paid shill partisans can come back and automatically dismiss as false because it comes from a conservative news source, which means it must be subservient to the evil Donald Trump. And they will use that line too, by the way. Absolutely. If the Blaze puts any of this out, they will 100% use that line. How do we know this? Because that's what they did with fucking Tucker. Big if true, though. Big if he actually does it. Joe Biden in an uncharacteristically Chad moment. Biden on the border invasion. Hey man, communities that are welcoming migrants and refugees can afford to welcome them.
Working together to stabilize migrant populations, including making sure the communities that are welcoming migrants and refugees can afford to welcome them and afford to care for them. Working together to...
I look forward to Martha's Vineyard taking on more refugees. Now, of course, they're not going to do that. Neither is New York. They're not going to willingly take on any more. We're full, man. We can't do it anymore. Stop sending them here. But, I mean, it's politics. This is an op-ed from The Hill. The opinion is by Nolan Rappaport. The opinions held in this article are not necessarily the opinions of The Hill, Contemporary, or your host, Jay Edgar. Biden 2.0, the U.S. could double its undocumented immigrant population. President Biden initially sought to reform our broken immigration system through legislative means. On his first day in office, he sent his U.S. Citizenship Act 2021 to Congress. It would establish numerous immigration benefits, including the largest legalization program in U.S. history, increased opportunity for lawful immigration, and humane treatment of migrants at the border. When this didn't work, he shifted his focus to administrative actions. This included bypassing the visa system, bringing migrants here through new legal pathways, catch and release at the border, and restricting interior enforcement. Apparently, by broken, he means that existing law doesn't permit enough immigration to come here and subjects the ones here unlawfully to the threat of deportation. Well, I mean, they broke the law, so there should be some sort of punishment for that. But I guess we don't have time for rational solutions either. This has caused serious, presumably unanticipated consequences, such as a record-breaking increase in illegal border crossings and an immigration court backlog crisis that can't be fixed. Yeah, at this point, you cannot nominate enough federal judges to do this. And I've always said, I mean, this should be a case-by-case thing. This shouldn't be just a mass sweep up and deport anybody with a Hispanic-sounding last name and let Mexico sort it out, who's legal and who's illegal. This is, and I have been fairly lenient compared to my conservative-leaning friends on how immigration goes. I think that there should be more courts. I mean, if you get busted at the border, you should get sent back automatically. But for the ones that are here, yes, we need to get them in. Because, our friends on the left like to point out, there are many of them that have been here and paying taxes, working sometimes in the military for their entire lives. So get them in, get them on a case-by-case basis. Let the federal judge determine if they have broken laws other than immigration law, if they are a net asset to the community and to our citizenry, if there are extenuating circumstances. Yes, that would include anchor babies. And have an actual determination of who is fit to be an a legal immigrant and who needs to get the fuck back over the border. I'm not a collectivist. I'm perfectly willing to hear it out on a case-by-case basis, but there's not enough judiciary in the world to do that, given the sheer number of people the Biden admin has brought in. Just by the sheer number that they've brought in, there's no way logistically to get that done anymore. You've screwed the pooch, and I think it might be on purpose. Maybe. And they're not just coming from Mexico anymore either, that's the thing. From CBS News, Senate Republicans seek drastic asylum limits in emergency funding package. That is not going to pass, of course. From Camilo Montoya Galvez. Senate Republicans are seeking drastic limits on asylum and other immigration programs in an emergency funding package requested by President Brandon that includes billions of dollars for Ukraine, Israel, and other national security priorities, according to an outline of the senators' priorities released on Monday. A memo by Republicans Senators Lindsey Graham, who I believe still has the Mogwai's phone, Tom Cotton, and Jim Lankford, outlined the Senate GOP's border policy demands in the negotiations over the Biden admin's $106 billion national security supplemental request, which also includes billions to bolster security at the border. Senate Republicans, including Minority Leader the Turtle Man McConnell, have indicated that Mr. Biden and Democrats would need to accept border policy changes for the supplemental to pass. In a statement later on Monday, White House spokesperson Angelo Fernandez said the Biden admin disagreed with many of the Senate Republicans' plans, but added that the president was leaving the door open for a serious conversation about immigration compromise. Democrat senators also rejected the proposal. Immigration compromise coming from the Biden admin. Okay, man, I'm gonna tell you. Here's what's on the note card that my staffers put in front of me. Okay, man. I'm gonna get everything that I want on immigration, and you, the GOP, are gonna say just slow down a little bit, man. That's our compromise, okay? Come on, man. I mean, that's what compromises have been from the GOP for the last 50 fucking years, so. Why would I believe that any of this would be any different? That's his serious proposal. Senate Republicans' demands include a set of restrictive changes to U.S. asylum law, including a rule that would render migrants ineligible for asylum if they transited through a third country without seeking refuge there before reaching American soil, safe third country. Migrants would only be allowed to request protocol at an official port of entry, which, I mean, if you're seeking asylum, why would you not go to a port of entry so you can come back and be surrounded by agents who will protect you from the person who is chasing you? Migrants would only, those screened for asylum under the expedited removal process would have to meet a higher evidentiary threshold during interviews to avoid being quickly deported. The plan would revive the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy, which, again, I also agree with wholeheartedly, requiring border officials to return migrants to Mexico pending a review of their claims if they can't be deported or detained. Additionally, it would create new authority similar to the now defunct Title 42 pandemic-related order that would allow immigration agents to summarily expel migrants if doing so was deemed necessary to achieve operational control of the southern border, which, again, I also agree with. Vong says the only immigration policy I will support is zero immigration of any kind in perpetuity. Tourism, fine, but the moment your tourist visa expires, if you're still on U.S. soil, you get thrown out and banned from ever coming back. As for border policy, the only thing I want to hear involves wall soldiers with guns and trebuchets. I mean, you are a bit more conservative than I am, too. Remember, I'm more libertarian and more anti-federal government than you are, so it would stand to reason that we would disagree on this. People want to come in and make a bunch of money and make a bunch of tacos that me and my friends can enjoy. You bring the know-how. Our country will make sure that you can get ingredients, and I will eat your delicious tacos. I'm getting banned from YouTube. I know I am. But ironically enough, and what Bong actually brings up is the actual, because I know even though we've seen an increase in border crossings under this administration, even with that increase in crossings, the majority of illegal immigration in this country statistically remains expired visas. Tourist, work visas, etc. It remains to be expired visas. That is the number one factor in illegal immigration. Still, even with all the border crossings. People overstay their visas and just hide from the INS agent when it happens. Now, the border situation is not helping. And if we keep up at the rate that we're going, it may eclipse overstayed visas. But yeah, still currently, that's the number one cause of illegal immigration is overstayed visa. All right, let's talk Rashida Tlaib. We've got a few minutes left here. Probably about 10 minutes left before we got to do things I like and things that I hate. I'm still in the CBS article. Rashida Tlaib accuses Biden of supporting genocide of Palestinians. Yeah, that's going to go over real well. Remember, your paid shills like to tell us that Biden is doing nothing wrong. So you're going to run afoul of those people to start with. From Giselle Ruhiyi Ewing. I think that's how you pronounce that. Representative Rashida Tlaib accused President Biden of supporting genocide in Gaza, warning that voters won't forget his actions at the polls in 2024 in the strongest intra-party rebuke to the president since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war. In a video posted Friday to X, formerly known as Twitter, Tlaib featured interspersed clips of Biden admin officials expressing support for Israel, videos of dead and injured Palestinians in Gaza, and clips from pro-Palestinian protests around the U.S., before closing with a direct message from Tlaib to Biden. We're going to watch that video. Do keep in mind that this may not be appropriate for all viewers. Let's watch.
We stand with Israel.
Mr. President, the American people are not with you on this one.
Innocent civilians are going to be hurt going forward. I wish I could tell you something different. I wish that wasn't going to happen, but it is going to happen.
I want to thank President Biden for his unequivocal support.
We will remember in 2024.
Hey, remember Rashida Tlaib. A vote against Biden is a vote for Trump. Staying home is a vote for Trump. Or all the other moronic, stupid fucking platitudes that people like you like to throw out there. Anything that isn't an unequivocal bend of the knee to Joe Biden is a vote for Trump. Now, mind you, Biden is absolutely 100% fucked on this, and this might cost him the presidency. If he doesn't walk this fine tightrope perfectly, then I might start to believe some of these polls that are coming out that we talked about earlier. The problem is, for the GOP, whether you are populist, which typically comes out of the former Union Democrat side of the party, whether you are neoconservative, which means you just love having constant wars in the Middle East, they're mostly pointed at the enemies of Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc., or whether you are full-out evangelocon and you think that Israel must be preserved because that's where Jesus was walking around. Under the GOP, it's very easy to unite behind Israel. In fact, the only people who don't come out in support of Israel on the GOP side are the people that you, our friends on the left, try to tell the world that represent the entire GOP, the white supremacist wing. Those are, ironically, the only people who are not in support of Israel under the GOP banner. And again, yet you try to tell us that these people represent the entirety of the GOP. On the left, it's a little bit more of a tricky situation because your big business donors are fully on the side of Israel. What union Dems you have left are still on the side of Israel. And the NPR sweater liberals are about 50-50. But your far leftoids, because of the left-wing and socialistic government of Hamas and the Gaza Strip, are full on in the tank for Palestine. Your coalition is split over this issue. And while I don't think any of these people will come out and pull the lever from Trump, in fact, I know that they won't, because his capitalistic ideas are a unique danger to their more socialistic ideologies. They can just as easily stay the F home. So, we have that going on for us. Alright, what else do we have? Some of the pushback to this one here. Left-wing, leftoid Democrat A.G. Nessel, the one who's trying to criminally prosecute Donald Trump, and others call out Rashida Tlaib's From the River to the Sea comments on Israel-Hamas war. From Amy Lang and David Comer. So this is coming from internal. We'll look at the GOP's reaction to this later. State Senator Jeremy Moss and AG Dana Nessel, both Jewish, are calling out U.S. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's recent social media posts about the Israel and Palestine conflict. Moss and Nessel are asking Tlaib, a Palestinian American, to take down her posts calling for a ceasefire, which include what they call an anti-Semitic rallying cry for Hamas. From the river to the sea is a phrase that has been used by those who want to kill, maim, and harm and destroy Jews, said Moss of Southfield. The phrase has been co-opted as a battle cry for those who want to eradicate Jews who live in Israel from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. Now, again, I will give benefit of the doubt to the leftoid college students who don't know the history behind that phrase and the fact that the phrase was specifically written to be innocuous enough to be a rallying cry from people who don't necessarily want to see the Holocaust level eradication of the Jews in Israel. Most of the people who are chanting From the River to the Sea think that they're calling for a two-state solution. I will give the benefit of the doubt where benefit of the doubt is due. It's only the radicals like Tlaib who are looking for a genocide of a level that would make Adolf Hitler blush. Those words are anti-Semitic to us, said Nessel, and that's why we've asked her to stop using that kind of language. It's still painful. It still hurts us, and we're still asking her to stop. Both Moss and Nessel and U.S. Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin of the 7th District took to Twitter over the weekend calling on Tlaib to delete the posts. I thought Slotkin was a Republican. I might be wrong. No, I am wrong. I do remember talking about her as the Democrat she is. Tlaib posted From the River to the Sea as an aspirational call for freedom, human rights, and peaceful coexistence, not death, destruction, and hate. This is just who Rashida is, lover or hater. She believes what she believes, but it doesn't make it always right, Nessel said. And sometimes you have to call people out publicly. Tlaib's office released a statement Monday saying 71% of Michigan Democrats support a ceasefire in Palestine. I don't think it's that high. Non-Orthodox Jews reform, and more liberal Jews are typically Democrat voters. It's only once you get up into the ranks of the orthodoxy that you start to see more conservative values coming out of that. So I don't think that number is 71%. And I would love to see where you pull that number out. Well, no, I actually don't want to see that. Nobody should want to see that. Never mind. Forget I said anything. And her colleagues are more focused on silencing her than they are on any of the horrific attacks on civilians in Gaza and the West Bank. Look, if they want to fire every last piece of munition at each other, that's on them. I just don't want us to go get involved. And from Axios, Republicans mount new push to censure Rashida Tlaib. From Andrew Solender. A trio of House Republicans introduced a resolution to censure Palestinian-American Rep. Rashida Tlaib over her criticism of Israel. A previous measure to censure Tlaib, introduced by Marjorie Taylor Greene, failed due to bipartisan opposition to its reference to a protest in Washington, D.C., calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war as an insurrection. Rich McCormick of Georgia took to the House floor Monday to introduce what's known as a privileged motion to censure Tlaib, which forces a vote on the measure within 2 legislative days. His resolution accuses her of promoting false narratives about Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel and calling for the destruction of the state of Israel with her defense of the chant, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Greene also introduced a new version of her original resolution without the insurrection language and forced it to a vote. The privilege motion comes after Rep. Max Miller of Ohio, one of the House's 2 Jewish Republicans, introduced his own non-privileged censure resolution against Tlaib on Thursday. Tlaib's office pointed to her statement on Greene's initial resolution, which she said was deeply Islamophobic and attacks peaceful Jewish anti-war advocates. I'm proud to stand in solidarity with Jewish peace advocates calling for a ceasefire and an end to the violence. I will not be bullied, I will not be dehumanized, and I will not be silenced. But you will bully, dehumanize, and silence other people. So that is Rashida Tlaib and everything going on here. And let me just touch on a couple other things here before we head out of here. Let's grab one from The Hill since we're talking about the war. UN chief condemns attack on ambulance convoy in Gaza. This must stop. Tara Suter reporting from The Hill. The UN condemned a recent attack by Israel on a convoy of ambulances leaving a Gaza hospital. I'm horrified by the reported attack in Gaza on an ambulance convoy outside of El Shifa Hospital. Antonio Gutierrez posted on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Now, for nearly a month, civilians in Gaza, including children and women, have been besieged, denied aid, killed, and bombed out of their homes, Gutierrez continued. This must stop. And as I said, right from October 7th on down until the end of everything, the biggest problem, and I don't believe that Israel is bombing out ambulances and hospitals at face value. I don't believe that Palestine and Hamas are hiding behind civilians at face value. I believe that both of those things are possible. But we are sitting under a fog of war with propaganda for both sides because of high levels of advocacy for both sides. This is a very propagandistic war. And for years and decades to come after this, we are not going to know the actual truth on the ground. Just like the Ukraine and the situation that's up there. That has been marred by so much propaganda, so much fog of war. We don't know what's going on. We have an idea that it's mostly stalled around the Dnipro River. But other than that, it doesn't seem like we have... I mean, you hear stories from conservative outlets that say one thing, legacy outlets that say another thing, and far-left blogs that say yet another thing off of this. There's no way of knowing what's going on in there unless you're actually standing on the ground in the Ukraine. And realistically, when we look at what's happening in Israel-Palestine, I mean, there's a narrative that's out there that people want to paint that Israel is bloodthirsty and will just kill civilians indiscriminately. And there's a narrative out there that Hamas is so uniquely evil that they want to annihilate every Jew on the planet and will hide behind civilians to make sure that they get to it. There's too much fog of war to know what's going on. Full out stop. Let's see. I'm going to hold off on that one. PragerU got into the news this week because they bought a takeover ad on X as part of a $1 million campaign to promote what they call a polarizing D-trans film. Now, full disclosure, I've not seen this film because I don't really have an interest in it. If you want to chop off your genitals, that's between you and God. I will tell you I think it's stupid. But it's ultimately your choice whether or not to do it. I will offer my opinion. But you're going to run out and do it no matter what it is I think about it. But this is from Joe Yerkaba, PragerU Foundation, a conservative advocacy group, purchased a takeover ad on X on Thursday as part of a larger $1 million marketing campaign to promote its polarizing film, D-Trans, The Dangers of Gender-Affirming Care. The 21-minute film focuses on two people who have detransitioned, meaning they previously identified as transgender and later decided that they were not. They were both began transitioning when they were adults. Their stories are part of the film's larger criticism of transition-related care for minors, which has recently become the target of Republican state legislators who have passed laws to restrict puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgery in 22 states over the last 3 years. Now, it's interesting that Prager brings up adults in this because of the rapid onset gender dysphoria phenomenon that we're seeing here, especially among kids. Somebody transitions and they get all kinds of attention, and then a bunch of other kids want to run out and transition as well. My thought on this again, leave the kids out of it. But interestingly enough, we're told that nobody ever wants to detransition, number one. And then number two, especially if you go into it as an adult, it's almost impossible for you to want to change. And yet we're seeing people that do, people who have fully formed brains who, by some of the definitions out there, some of these people would think that these people don't have a fully functioning, fully fleshed out thought process until they're like 26 years old. And again, my big thing is if you're an adult, you should be cognizant of the decision that you're making, and you can't go out and sue somebody else who should be a caretaker and should be there ready to stop you if you do. If you're a kid and you want to dress somewhere wacky, like a girl, or have blue hair, if you're a boy and you want to dye your hair blue and wear a dress and things like that, it's weird. But if you feel that way at 14 and you're so sure of yourself that you're going to, you're still going to feel the same way when you're 18 and can enter into a medical contract on your own. So sit there, pretend to be a girl for those 4 years and see how you feel after 4 years. But I got this feeling that once girls start paying attention to you, you might have a change of heart. That seems to be how it's going for most of these. So, but of course the criticism is because it's PragerU. They're evil. And the last thing that I have is on Sam Bankman-Fried, who has been convicted on 7 counts from CNBC. Sam Bankman-Fried faces over 100 years in prison at sentencing. Experts weigh in on how much time he'll actually get. I think he's going to get a slap on the wrist, a couple years in good behavior, and wouldn't you know it, he'll be fundraising again before you know it. Mackenzie Sigelos reporting. A jury of 12 found FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried guilty of all 7 criminal charges brought against him. The question of how long he'll remain in prison, however, is one that Judge Lewis Kaplan will spend the next few months deliberating by himself. The no-nonsense 78-year-old judge is a veteran of the Southern District of New York and has presided over some of the biggest cases to roll through the courthouse at 500 Pearl Street in downtown Manhattan. Kaplan is straightforward and has no patience for pageantry in his courtroom. If a witness is deliberately avoiding question, or an attorney is being redundant and sloppy in his cross, Kaplan is quick to admonish the offender and set the conversation back on course. He also has no problem calling out members of the gallery for chewing gum in his courtroom. The judge's lack of patience with Bankman-Fried during the defendant's 4 days on the stand was obvious to anyone who was there and who later read the transcript. I'm not giving a legal interpretation of this, Fried said. I'm just giving the best I can what my memory is. And parts of this that jibe with that, I'm not trying to give a definitive legal ruling on what this does or doesn't say. I'm not sure I would quite answer yes to the question, as you most recently phrased it. I'm going to try as best I can to give the answer I believe, which is that as at least I remember the understanding at the time, FTX itself, or I think as actually happened without FTX as an intermediary, customers' fiat funds would be sent to Alameda Bank's accounts. FTX would retain effectively a debt from Alameda for those, and in the lien section here, a lien on Alameda's assets as security for the ongoing liability that it would be repayable on direction from FTX in the return section here and in the payment directive section. Multiple litigators told CNBC that Bankman-Fried's combative attitude towards Assistant U.S. Attorney Daniel Sassoon wasn't a good look for the jury or judge either. Bankman-Fried was convicted of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud against FTX customers and against Alameda Research lenders, conspiracy to commit securities fraud and conspiracy to commit commodities fraud against FTX investors, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. That the jury was able to reach a unanimous verdict in just a few hours suggests that they were truly convinced that there were no holdouts that needed to be coaxed. Yesha Yadav, law professor and associate dean of Vanderbilt University, told CNBC. The statutory maximum is 115, but there is a sliding scale for sentencing according to recommended guidelines given the scale of crimes and the criminal history as the defendant. I wouldn't be surprised if Fried spends the next 20 to 25 years of his life in prison. Renato Mariotti, a former prosecutor of the U.S. DOJ, Securities and Commodities Fraud Section, told CNBC. I don't think he's going to get that much. I don't. Realistically, he'll wind up with 10, and on good behavior, he'll be out in a couple. And the people in the government already know that he knows very well how to make money for them, no matter what the situation is. And make them very rich before he gets caught and gets thrown under the bus. So, I think it's going to be a short amount of time. Alright. Again, forgot to prep the rules of acquisition. But let's do a couple things I like and a couple things that I hate, and head out of here for the night. Alright. Thing that I like. Selena Gomez is roasted on social media after contrasting war posts. I don't think I organized this section. I don't think, now that I'm looking at this again. I think that was thing that I hate today. It was thing that I hate today. Let's reorganize this on the fly because, well, like I said when I was making the Twitter post, or the X post I should say, I'm not prepared for this. So it's one thing I like and a couple things that I hate. Thing that I like. Thomas Massie made it into the news today. This week, the House will vote on my amendment to defund the federal mandate that requires all new vehicles to be equipped with a kill switch to monitor driver performance and prevent vehicle operation. The amendment says, Amendment to H.R. 4820 is reported offered by Mr. Massie of Kentucky. At the end of the bill, before the short title, insert the following. Secretary, name later. None of the funds made available by this act may be used to implement Section 24220 of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, 49 U.S. Code 30111, note. Now, I'm a car guy, so anything that's going to come out here to try to get rid of this, I'm in favor of. I have no interest in a new vehicle right now. Well, after 2028 when this is implemented, I should say that. But I have no interest in a new vehicle that has this function. Because it's not just going to be used on driver performance or if you happen to steal a vehicle or anything like that. This is going to be, oh, hey, you drove your truck too many miles this week and you're causing climate change. We're going to be able to shut this down now, so you're going to have to find another way to get to work. Oh, we're sorry, you said something on X that was unsavory towards the government. Oh, we're sorry. Your vehicle is going to be shut down. Oh, like when they proposed this was supposed to be an automatic breathalyzer that was in a vehicle that could sense when you breathed in, like you didn't have to blow into the tube. And it could say that you were drunk and then just shut it down, but remotely from a government office. But again, when it comes to government offices, when you give them power, they abuse it. So I'm very much in favor of Massie putting this in here and finding a way to get around this. Will it go anywhere? Probably not. But the government doesn't need to be looking into how I'm driving. And I know it's not going to be used for what it is that they say it's going to be used for. And a couple things that I hate. Now, Gomez, as we were starting to read into earlier, Selena Gomez is being so stupid right now, says Jav, Parkwood Films over on X. She's downplaying her massive following and being hypocritical if a post can't help change the world. Why call yourself a philanthropist? Why post about mental health, BLM, women's rights, and American elections, etc., etc.? Because Selena Gomez has said, I've been taking a break from social media because my heart breaks to see all the horror, hate, violence, and terror that's going on in the world. People being tortured and killed or any act of hate towards any one group is horrific. We need to protect all people, especially children, and stop the violence for good. I'm sorry if my words never will be enough for everyone or a hashtag. I just can't stand by innocent people getting hurt. That's what makes me sick. I wish we could change the world, but a post won't. Love, Selena. And she got roasted for this as as Newsweek reported off of this. Now, I will point out, there is a bit of hypocrisy here because, as was pointed out in this, Gomez was very vocal about trying to make sure that Russia loses the war in Ukraine. Because she went off with liberal causes. It's usually good for, especially a singer celebrity, to stick with liberal causes. And there was a united front on the Democrat Party about Ukraine. There was an absolute united front from the left wing of this country about Ukraine. But as I pointed out when we were talking about Rashida Tlaib, part of which makes this a thing that I hate, because I do support anybody who needs to take a break from social media, actually sitting down and taking a break from social media. I do support that. Social media is one of the things that's destroying our lives, and this is coming from somebody who advertises his show on social media and gets in Twitter arguments so he can make a name for himself on social media. This is coming from somebody who makes a little bit of money off of using social media. But with that being said, what's happening with the Israel-Hamas war is you really don't, especially on the left-wing side of it, know which side you can take without losing a bunch of your customers. And like Getty Lee said, if you choose not to decide, you've still made a choice. this really is a no-win situation for Tlaib, Biden, and celebrities who have made their claim on supporting liberal causes, because there's really no way of knowing which way this is going to go on the liberal side. And to just come back out and walk away from it really shows the outset of that, the fact that you don't know which way you can go. So it's either step away from it and risk being called a fence-sitting cuck, as Gomez has, or actually show your realistic views behind it one way or another and lose half your customer base. And the last thing that I hate today comes to us from the New York Post. $16 McDonald's meal leaves fans fuming. Believe fast food chain no longer affordable. And this is something I've been noticing for a little while. I can remember, and I don't want to sound like the old geezer that says, "Hey man, back in my day, you could get enough Taco Bell to feed 2 people for $5, which is true, by the way. We've done that. My ex-fiance and I, my second fiance and I, would do that all the time, actually. Just go out and bring a $5 bill into a Taco Bell, and we could get enough food to feed the both of us. This was the early 2000s, so it wasn't like forever ago, but there are some problems that I have with this as well. Brooke Cato reporting, it was a not-so-happy meal. An enraged McDonald's customer says that the fast food franchise is no longer affordable for ordinary Americans, calling the company's contemporary prices crazy. So I get there's a labor shortage. I get there's a wage increases and a number of other things. The Idaho man, Christopher Olive, began in a viral TikTok clip, which has recently resurfaced. But $16 for a burger, a large fry, and a drink, it's just crazy. The flabbergasted content creator complained, panning to his itemized receipt from McDonald's restaurant in the city of Post Falls. The video was originally posted on social media last December, but has now gone viral again after McDonald's reported an increase in revenue, directly influenced by a strategic hike in menu prices. In the comment section of Olive's, viewers voiced frustration with the price of the fast food. It's no longer convenient or affordable anymore, one moaned. Companies know they can get these prices, so they'll never go back, a second commiserated, saying the glory days of cheap fast food were over. Let's actually look at this one here.
The reason I bought my Toyota Tundra is simple. I wanted something that got the gas mileage of a semi-truck, sounds like an air conditioner, and has no bedroom. I can't even put my four-wheeler in there. But hey,
this is not the TikTok that we were looking for. Apparently we can't watch this over on here. However, others left comments in defense of McDonald's, telling Olive he ordered a premium burger and could have had secured a different meal for a lower price. Bro ordered the most expensive meal they had and acted surprised, another one defender declared. Now, you sound like those boomers that complain about $5 popcorn and another snack. Now, I will give credit to that. So this guy went in and ordered a Big Mac, a largest fries, and a supersized drink. Well, it looks like he got a smaller drink, but he got the biggest fry possible. I know because the regular fry that comes with this comes in a paper bag, not a cardboard box. So he does have the most expensive meal on the menu. I think some of the premium chicken sandwiches are a little bit more, but to get a meal like this, yes, is like the top level of what you're going to get at a McDonald's. But even still, like when I go in and get my regular, because I'm not a big fries eater, I'll get 2 of the cheap double cheeseburgers. I don't get like the quarter pounders or anything, but 2 of the little cheap double cheeseburgers, which sells at a premium because they're not a McDouble. They have an extra slice of cheese on them. And then usually a chicken sandwich, plain with cheese, which is $7.89 at most of the locations I go to. that used to be $3. Not that long ago, that was $3. I also will point out too what they're doing here, because to get $16.89 out of anything at a cheap fast food place with a full meal, there's a place in town around here where you can go and get 3 big rolls. And when I say sushi rolls, usually when you get 3 sushi rolls, it's in a little box like this, little teeny tiny box, and they all fit in there because they use a smaller size sushi roll and they pop them up like that. But there's a place in town. They're not paying me, so I'm not going to advertise for them, but like, you get a full size to go container for $30, 3 rolls, if you choose your rolls correctly. It's just a touch under $30 to get it, and I was like surprised when I got this. And that's twice what this is for a food that's supposed to be a premium type of food. Where there was so much food in there, I can't believe I could even eat it all. Like, it was a regular full-size to-go container, wall-to-wall with sushi. For typically what you'll pay at a sushi place to get half that much. And then to go around and cut that in half and get what's considered to be the cheapest of the fast foods out there. Again, noting the fact that they're using the most expensive items on the menu to do so, but this is the point where the inflation is getting just out of control, absolutely. So, that is the thing that I hate. And with that, we are done. We're out of here. Quiet crowd, but good crowd tonight. 15 people at close, so do hope you guys will come back and go check out the replay if you're just catching up now. But yeah, you can catch the replay over here on Rumble, if you're on Rumble, over on YouTube. Once that gets processed back out, which I will make sure that gets done, I think, yet tonight. I do have to work in the morning ever briefly, but I'm only going in for 20 minutes, and then I'm heading out to make sure that all my family affairs are in order. Thanks, by the way, everybody who came in too, by the way, before I head out of here, on an impromptu last-minute stream, because I didn't think I was going to be sitting here tonight. With what I heard at 9:30 this morning, I did not think I was going to be sitting in this chair tonight. And in fact, I thought we were going to be doing this tomorrow. And then actually my attention is needed elsewhere tomorrow. I do need to be out of the house tomorrow. Which means, of course, no debate either. Which is lame. I didn't realize that was tomorrow. But you can catch this back on the audio platform on Spotify if you would rather take it on the go. Over on YouTube, over on Rumble. But again, thanks so much. An hour late. Hour and a half late. And still a great crowd tonight. So let's throw up some outro music. Let's head out of here. I actually have to find my outro music because we didn't use the regular one because of Halloween last week. Where is my Stephen Ignoramus outro music? Which I love. And I still appreciate Stephen for providing. Alright, so thank you everybody for coming by, hanging out with me out here in the live chat. Those of you who did chat, those of you who lurked as well. Everybody's welcome here, so tell some friends. We'll be back here next Tuesday at the regular time at 6 p.m. Central Time. For more news, more headlines, and more contemporary, come back and join us for that. Or again, catch us back on the audio platform or on the video platform as well. Looking forward to that. No game streams this week. We'll see if I can pull something up for the weekend, though, because, I still want to play some Final Fantasy X, so there's going to be that. So come back and join me for that. Times to be determined. But that'll be over on the Twitch side, so come back for that. Otherwise, we'll see you here next Tuesday for more news, more headlines, more contemporary. If you are on Twitch, stick around. We'll go find somebody to raid. Otherwise, take care. Have a good night. Thanks for sticking around with me so late. And thank you for your prayers, too, for those of you who don't know what's going on, or those of you who actually do, and for not coming out here and spilling the beans. This is a private matter. Only between friends, but definitely thank you for that. I could use some extra prayers if you have an extra one in there. Have a good night. See you next time over here on Contemporary. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.